Hello, this is Sammy and welcome back to my podcast. First, I want to appreciate you for listening and subscribing my podcast. I read your comments and emails and I'm so thankful for your support. You can find Sam Podcast on most of the platforms like Apple Podcast, Spotify, Anchor, Buzzsprout. Also available on other medias like YouTube and Instagram. On the previous show, we saw Freddy arrived in Europe, standing outside the airport, waited for his friend Luca for 5 hours, but he didn't show up. Freddy tried to call him again, but unfortunately was not reachable, so he decided to leave. Now let's start. Freddy started to walk alone. The airport was far from the city. Buses and trains were operating and not far from the airport, but he decided to walk anyway. He was confused a lot. He couldn't stop thinking about Luca. He was in pain, but he couldn't blame Luca or anyone. He was not quick to judge. There must be a story behind Luca. Must be a reason why it happened that way, Freddy thought. Sometimes making a big transformation in life is pretty scary, and that's what made me stuck. But you know what's the scariest thing is? Regret and not trying or not taking a risk. Just trust the process. Freddy walked for almost 3 hours until he reached a bus stop nearby the city, and it was around 2 a.m. He thought to wait there, hoped that Luca might see him on the way. He sat on the bench for almost 2 hours, then he started to walk again until he found a restaurant. This restaurant operates 24 hours, so he went in and asked if he can use a washroom. He looked at himself on the mirror and said, "What's going on? What am I doing in Europe?" Continued Freddy. "It's not what I've imagined or expected." Then he washed his face. He went again to that employee in that restaurant and asked him if he can get help with food, as he couldn't pay with his foreign currency. He explained his situation to that employee and the guy refused to help him, but he allowed Freddy to sit in the restaurant until 6 a.m. as it was very cold outside. Around 6 a.m. Freddy left the restaurant heading to the city, looking after a place where he can change his money and buy food. Finally, he found Forex office, a place where he could change his money, but unfortunately was closed, as he had to wait until they open again. Later, he managed to change his money when Forex opened their office. The first thing Freddy thought about was to call his family back home that he arrived safe, then to buy food as he was starving. Freddy got out from the Forex office, heading to cross the road. The person next to him was an old man with his walker, crossing slowly, and Freddy thought to help him. After crossing the road, the old man thanked Freddy and started conversation with him while walking. His house was not far from where they met. The old man pointed at his house to show Freddy where it was located, and was almost 300 meters distance. They continued walking together. When they were close to the house, Freddy had to say goodbye, and the old man asked him if he was living in the same neighborhood. Freddy stayed quiet. He didn't know what to answer. Then he responded to him that, "I don't live here." "Then where do you live?" asking an old man. "I don't have a place to stay," Freddy answered. Then both stayed quiet. The old man took a pen and wrote his number, gave it to Freddy and said, "Call me later or anytime." Freddy took the number, thanked him, then he left. So did Freddy call the old man, or he proceeded with his journey? Make sure you don't miss the next episode. And thanks for listening. Stay good.